Hey everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Saga. Dave Cottingham here with Hannah Burr.
Hello.
Here we go again, Hannah. How are you?
Doing well, and how are you?
Very good, very good. All right, this has been a long time coming because it took me a while to, get to this book and finish this book. But we are about to talk about Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade. Yeah, you got through this book a lot sooner than I did and been itching to talk about this.
Very itching.
Yeah, written by Delilah S. Dawson, who is obviously a very big Star Wars fan and writer. For those of you, if you want to be familiar with her, the first book that comes to mind is Phasma for me. She wrote Phasma, which I thought was a very good book.
Yes.
You can go and actually I was just looking. We did Phasma, but it was only a Patreon only video. So unfortunately, got to become a patron if you want to go watch that Beyond the Saga. But I did like that book. Told the story of Phasma. I think if you do go watch that, we mainly talk about how the front of that book and the back end of that book were incredible. The middle part, has its ups and downs, but overall, it's a great story about Phasma. Mm-hmm. And this one, of course, is the story about the rise of Iskat Akaris, who is a Padawan, of course, during the fall of the Jedi of Order 66. I was surprised we did actually get a pretty good build up during her young Jedi years and some storylines before we get into whole Order 66. It took a little bit actually to get there, which I thought I really liked. Mm-hmm. The book's fairly, it's only not even been out a couple years. So it came out in July of 23. Takes place roughly between 22 to up to 14 years BBY. So that's all I'll say about it right now. But Hannah, what did you think? I'll let you talk about how you thought about this book.
I love this book, and I think it's because we're finally getting some of that Sithiness that we hope to get into. I mean, not a spoiler here. It's called Rise of the Red Blade. This is following Iskat as she becomes an Inquisitor. And I think the slow build up to it is so well done. And we actually see her be like, I don't mean like all of a sudden, boom, she changed. Oh, she's an Inquisitor. No, they go through trials. They go through training. They go through hazing and torture to become an Inquisitor. It's not just an overnight, an overnight thing, a knighting thing. No. But in addition to that, we also see a different point of view of that Colosseum, that fight scene when the Clone Wars began. We get a whole nother point of view of that. Mm-hmm. We get a whole nother point of view.
Geonosis.
Yeah, on Geonosis. We get a whole nother point of view of where did all these Jedi Knights come from? Well, it's because all these Padawans didn't really get a chance to go through the trials. They were immediately thrown into becoming Jedi Knights to fight in the Clone Wars. Mm-hmm. We see how Padawans are picked. We see how Padawans, when they become a Jedi Knight, they aren't necessarily sent to battle right away. They're sent to do different duties. Like for her, she wanted to go to battle, but instead everyone was trying to force her to just stay in the library. And it was because a lot of people were scared of her.
That's right.
And I won't necessarily say why, but it made her greatly distrust the Jedi. And it also shows how masterful Palpatine was behind all of this, because and I won't say how because it's a spoiler, but he plants bugs. He knows which Jedi are easily susceptible and which ones are not. And so he purposely does things to nudge them down a certain path. Mm-hmm. And the other really cool thing about this book, and I won't say how, is that it's connected to the next Vader comic that we're actually about to read.
Yes.
I won't say how, but it is. So just how masterfully done, how masterfully the story is told. We even get Order 66 from Iskat's point of view, which
Yep.
I don't know about you, but it took me by surprise. I was not expecting it at that time.
Yeah.
And that really shows what it was like. So I think it's a great story, and I also do want to shout kudos to the author and to Star Wars for doing this. There is a huge warning in the beginning about how this book does talk about the subject of suicide. And I think they handled that whole subject very well, especially giving the warning in the beginning. So hats off to them for doing that. I think the story of Iskat, though, is told so incredibly well. How she started as a Jedi Padawan and ended as an Inquisitor. What were your thoughts on the book?
No, I thought it was really, really good. I would, when I got through it, I put this was probably up there with Dark Disciple. I mean, not as good as Dark Disciple, but it's up there. And, it's, well, I think it's safe to say that, when you talk about this character or this storyline going into Vader, that's what's interesting is this Iskat, this isn't her first appearance, so, but it is her storyline. It is how she became an Inquisitor and the impacts that going through her life and the Jedi Order, right? Like you said, that it's a lot deeper on the Jedi Order side of this with her character and that's I guess that's the one thing. I mean, I get it. I get that we're on the Inquisitor side, so it comes down to point of view. A certain point of view, as always with Star Wars. I mean, there's still this point of view in this book that's, I guess, kind of similar to the Acolyte in a sense, where it's like the Jedi's not looked on very fondly. There's mistakes that the Jedi have made, and it kind of is, it's pointed out again in this book a little bit, but that's the thing about it is when you learn about how the Inquisitors became Inquisitors, it's full manipulation. It's hard. It's heightening the emotion that these Padawans have already been feeling. And I get it. They're not all Jedi aren't going to feel the same way and believe in the same things. And, some are going to have those frustrations and feelings of being, betrayed in a way, in a sense, like this cat has. So, but again, it's a very well written story. It's got a lot of aspects. I think the Order 66 park, like you're talking about, I think Star Wars has done a great job in giving us these different viewpoints of it. I didn't think I would be as interested I would be in seeing how others experienced it. We got 3 or 4 different versions of it during episode 3. We saw how Plo Koon got killed and Kiani Mundi and Ali Gallia and Aya Sakura and all these and all of them. But to see now like Cal Kestis go through this and Kanan Jarrus's way of going through this, and now you're seeing Iskat's way. I mean, it's very interesting to see the different ways that the Jedi had to deal with. Of course, we saw it in, Obi-Wan, where we saw how the younglings got attacked and some of the younglings got attacked and stuff like that. So it's very interesting. I mean, even I did read an interesting thing about this that I didn't know you knew about this, but like There is a reference to Keller and Beck in this. Do you remember Keller and Beck? That's who Ahmad Best plays in The Mandalorian.
Yes. Oh my
that,
gosh, there is.
yeah, that was added. It was added late in the book process because he wasn't a character yet.
Oh.
And then obviously when he shows up in The Mandalorian and the one that saves Grogu, you know, they stuck him in late. I thought that was an interesting thing I read about that, but
That's awesome. I love that.
yeah, it's pretty neat. What is, I guess, where does this land as far as like your favorite books now? Is this up there too? Like,
Oh yeah, this is definitely up there. I won't get to ratings yet, but I think like it's solid, and I think it's really fascinating to see how someone could fall like that, and how methodical the whole thing is. Like at first you're like, well, oh, what are the chances? Oh, it's just that last minute manipulation of, oh, the Jedi were wrong and the Jedi were trying to throw a coup and no, like there's so much more into that, and then also it's absolutely horrific what they have to go through to become Inquisitors. We
yeah,
get a taste of it in Tales of the Empire. We get a taste of it,
taste of it.
but it's literally a taste. It is so much worse
It is.
than that.
Yeah, and it's one of the things where they're not. You know, I thought it was interesting that they're not just given their name. They like almost have to earn it.
Oh, they
You know,
absolutely do. Because there are Inquisitors who are recruited and they die.
that's right. Yeah, that's true.
You're lucky if you make it through with all your limbs.
Yeah, yeah. And Vader is in this book as well.
Yes, he is.
So you get a little bit of Vader. You can, if you're interested in hearing about that. But I know a lot of our listeners too, especially our patrons, I know really into this book too, and I think they are in agreement how good this thing is.
And I don't want to misspeak here. In the Clone Wars, did we hear the mantra or the is it the mantra of the Jedi or is it the creed of the Jedi?
The Jedi Code.
The Jedi Code, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do hear that in Clone Wars?
I don't know if anybody says it out loud.
Cuz I'm really tempted to say this, but I don't know if it's 100% true. Because the Code of the Jedi and the Code of the Sith were in Knights of the Old Republic, which technically isn't canon. Technically.
Yeah, technically, but there is a Jedi Code and
There is
there
a Jedi
Sith
Code.
Yeah.
That Jedi Code is confirmed in this book.
Yes. Yes.
So, and I'm tempted to say this is the first medium of us actually like confirming what the code is.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if it was in another. I know. I'm pretty sure it's never really been read aloud.
But like everybody's accepted. I don't know. Okay, no, it's not the. Okay, yep. It's explicitly stated in reference throughout the Phantom Menace, but I don't remember them actually.
No, they there's no like they don't read it out loud.
Yeah, that's
or
what I
whatever.
thought, but it's mentioned.
Well, yeah, the Jedi Code is all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been mentioned a lot, but you're talking about the actual code, which is there's no emotion, there is peace, there is no ignorance, there is knowledge, there is no passion, there is serenity, there is no chaos, there is harmony, there is no death, there is the Force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That like actually verbally having it be said out loud.
Right. Yeah. I don't think that's out there. Yeah.
So I think this might be the correct us if we're wrong, but I think this might be the first time.
Yeah, it could be. Could be. I mean, Clone Wars definitely. I mean, again, I see that there's some references to it in the Clone Wars, but I don't think there's any. You know, like it's not read out loud or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's said over and over again in this book.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think this is technically the first time. Indirect
Yeah.
mention in flashbacks, indirect mention, indirect mention. Okay, and potentially in some of the High Republic books.
Yeah, again, I think there's mentions of it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It might have been said in Master and Apprentice, it looks like.
I don't remember if it was
Yeah,
or not.
I'm looking on Wikipedia right now. Oh, yeah, I'm looking on. No, actually, sorry, this is a Star Wars fandom. But anyway, if that's the first time it's actually been verbally said, that's pretty cool too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's also what I read is kind of the mantra of it, right? Yeah. I mean, the Jedi Code has got a lot of, I think the code itself,
Oh
means it's
yeah.
kind of all the rules, right?
I guess what I meant is the mantra
The
then, because
mantra,
I don't
correct.
think
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
Because
mantra has been
like
verbally.
part of the Jedi Code is a Jedi shall not know anger nor hatred nor love,
Right. Which,
stuff like that. So it's like there's all these different rules that you can't follow. Anyway.
yeah. Anyway,
All right. Rating. What do you think?
rating. What did I? 4.5.
Yeah, I'm doing 4.5 as well. This is pretty dang good.
I think I did Dark Disciple at 4.75. So
Oh, I
4.5.
think that was a 5 for me. I'd have to look back, but I'm pretty sure that was a 5 for me.
I'm pretty sure it was.
So how impactful though is this story, do you think?
I think at first glance you don't think it's impactful, but I think it's important for us because we constantly are learning more and more about these Inquisitors, and we have so many unanswered questions that this book, deep diving into that, is huge. And I think it also just shows how vicious Vader actually is, and that's all I'll say on that front. And what a big role Vader played in the Inquisitors, actually. So and also we actually, outside of Vader, we see and we walk step in step with a Padawan that fell to the dark side.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, look, I think it's very impactful. I think I've obviously been deep diving into Star Wars for a long time in my life, and I remember for the longest time knowing about Inquisitors because of the expanded universe and having all these dark Jedi and all that stuff. But I can never recall, and I don't think it was part of the storyline and the canon until recently. But I never had a thought that these Inquisitors were former Jedi, and it's interesting to really learn about how that transition is being done because you got to think when you hear something like that, it's like, well, how could these Jedi do this now, become manipulated by, and that's the whole point of it. They are manipulated, they are brainwashed into believing that the Jedi were evil and that what they're feeling is right, and the emotions of the dark side, anger and fear and hatred, and it turns to suffering, and I think that's very impactful. I mean, I think we're going to get more and more of these kind of stories, because we don't really know fully how many Inquisitors there were yet, but it seems like there were a lot. And it just makes sense because Vader couldn't go out there and hunt these Jedi and all this stuff on his own. He needed a group of people to go out there, and a group of warriors and stuff like that. So they're not Sith.
No.
They're not Jedi that turn to Sith, but they're just Jedi that are basically, taking their revenge out.
Yeah, that's literally it.
Yeah. So I think that's very impactful. I think this is a book that everybody could get a lot of information from and learn from, and again, it's definitely worth listening to.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, love it.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, There you go. Finally, we got Rides the Red Blade out there.
Woo!
Thanks, Hannah, as always.
Thank you, Dave, as always.
Take care, everybody. Go check out Inside the Force YouTube channel for more Beyond the Sagas, more council sessions, more dark knowledge, all that stuff. So go check that out, as well as our weekly show, Inside the Force, on all your podcast feeds, as well as right here on YouTube. And then if you want more video content, we're over on Patreon as well. So go check that out. Until next time, thanks, everybody. Take care. May the Force be with you.